Hello everyone, I am going to record this video for PGT Jharkhand. Today I am going to record the video of the background of Romantic Age. Romantic Age, it spans from 1800 to 1850. The Romantic period in English literature begins with the publication of William Wordsworth and S.T. Coleridge's lyrical ballads in 1798 and ends with the accession of Queen Victoria in 1837. Some people believe that it ended with the death of Wordsworth in 1850. It is also known as one of the most revolutionary eras in the history of English literature. The great social, political, economical, and religious changes happened in this time. Frederick Schlegel is given credit for first time using the term romantic. The German Romantic movement, the influence of German Romantic movement. Before French influence, German influence was the most important phenomena. The Romantic Age in England was primarily inspired by the German Romantic movement. So German writers, German influence of Romanticism and philosophy of Sturm and Drang. It was the first movement related to Romanticism and it appeared in Germany. The famous painting by German painter Caspar David named "Wanderer Above the Sea of Fog" defined Romanticism. Friedrich Schlegel and Friedrich Schiller, they were the first people to inspire Romanticism. American Revolution 1765 to 1783. French Revolution and American Revolution, both of these revolutions happened almost during the same period. America was colonized by Britain and American Revolution happened in order to protest against the colonialism. French Revolution is inspired by American Revolution and the major aim of the revolution is to dethrone the British rule. Influence of French Revolution 1789. In the beginning of the French Revolution in 1789, the common message and literary persona of England was influenced by the ideals liberty, equality, and fraternity. These ideals became the motto of everyone. Moreover, Wordsworth saw that Shelley were heavily inspired and influenced by the French Revolution. John Keats, the best romantic writer, is the only exception who was not influenced and inspired by the French Revolution. Shelley criticized him by saying Keats in poetry has no revolutionary spirit. Industrial Revolution. It was a time of industrial revolution. The first industrial revolution came around 1780s to 1790s. The first industries were set up in England. It resulted in unemployment and lots of labor class emerged. People started running back to the villages. Rise of railway engines around the 1780s to 1790s, they started experimenting the initial use of motorbikes. Changes in society due to industrialization which influenced romantic writers. Population increase and people moved to city from village. Colonization provided consumer market and also raw material. Canal and railroads began to be developed. East India Company was set up. Urbanization and sanitary problems. No safety regulations for the workers and the pollution. Reform Act. Lot of reform acts were taking place and the condition of England became better. It is also known as Age of Peace, Understanding and Spirituality. thinkers started relating nature as the god or father figure. So they started taking message from nature only. Some of the major definitions. Famously, Walter Peter called it the addition of a strangeness. Watts Dunton called it Renaissance of wonder. Dr. Radhakrishnan said, romantic literature was the outcome from the depth of the defeated human heart. There are many other writers who praised romanticism and relate it. Literary characteristics of the Romantic Age. Subjectivity. Romantic poetry was subjective in its content, so they simply express their ideas whether they are related to mankind, nature, universe, or their own personal lives. First generation poets, which include Wordsworth, Coleridge, and Southey, they were more philosophical. The second generation poets, Byron, Shelley, and Keats, they were highly subjective. Second, supernatural elements. It is another outstanding quality of Romantic poetry. A sense of wonder and mystery was communicated to poetry by the poets like Coleridge. In Romantic Age, imagination was celebrated. They talk about the theory of impersonality and suspension of disbelief. Suspension of disbelief is when you read any work and you do not think logically and just feel the work. So they started celebrating supernatural elements in their works. Third, paganism or pantheism. It is when you find essence of God in nature or in natural objects. Fourth, love for nature and idealization of rural life. Nature as a powerful figure. All the romantic writers celebrated nature. They write works in which they can showcase how nature is important and it can cure all the problems. In poetry, the interest of poets was transferred from town to country life. All these writers celebrated their love for nature. For Wordsworth, nature is a father figure. For Coleridge, nature is a mysterious beauty. For Keats, nature is a beloved. For Shelley and Byron, nature is a powerful or revolutionary thing. For Southey, nature has mysteries, myths, and has great connection with human life. Liberalism in literature. That is, break from set rules. Romantic poetry has a spontaneous influence or expressions. Wordsworth said, poetry is a spontaneous overflow of powerful emotions recollected in tranquility. Wordsworth believed that unlike the new classical writers, you don't have to be concerned about the rhyme scheme and pattern. Instead, whatever comes to your heart, just express it. Romantic poetries are very spontaneous. They do not have any proper invocation and these have abrupt startings. 7. Focus on emotions and feelings. They wanted to remove the logical and rational ideas that were circulated during the Enlightenment period, and they started writing poetries which can touch human hearts. So the reason and intellect were overcome by the passion, emotion, and imagination. 8. Freedom of individuality. All the writers rep- represent an individual. They look at an individual as an important element of nature. Before that, we find that only heroes were glorified. But now, for the first time in this age, a normal human being was addressed. it appears that narrator is addressing directly to the person who is reading the work. 9. Simple and plain language. In Enlightenment period, the literature produced was targeted to the upper class people, and thus only well-educated and literate people could understand the work. But in the Romantic age, it was a direct response to the general people. They intended that their writing should be as simple as they should use regular day-to-day language. Wordsworth said, "There is no essential difference between the language of poetry and language of prose." 10. Free verse. They have rejected the old poetic devices like heroic couplet and all other strict and rigid poetic meters. They started using free form of verse like ode, verse, narrative, because their major aim was to showcase emotions. Romantic writers reintroduced Spenserian stanza. They have their own invented styles. Some of them have used free verse. Most of the writings in Romanticism are in blank verse. They have introduced lyrical ballad, lyric, ballad, sonnet, and odes. Romanticism revolted against the artificial standards of writing. That is, it was against neoclassical artificial literature. Romantic age emphasis on nobility and goodness of the human heart. What the most important part of Romanticism are imagination, melancholy, escape, and nature. Some major historic events during the Romantic Age: 1800 Union of England and Ireland, 1807 Abolition of slave trade, 1808 Peninsular War begin, 1815 Battle of Waterloo, 1819 Peterloo Massacre, 1832 Reform Bill, 1837 Accession of Queen Victoria.